And we can start now. No? Yeah, today we will discuss about Matplotlib library. So you can open the document that I have shared in the group. Library. Okay, how many of you have worked with this one before? No one? No, no one did for plotting. In addition to these, like plotting libraries, we have some other interactive libraries like what we call, forget the name. We have bokeh and some other libraries that we can use to plotting. But typically, most of the time, we are using matplot to do any sort of plotting. So in this one, we discuss like two main questions: how are line plots created using matplotlib, and how what methods exist in customize the look of these plots. And then the objective is like to create a basic line plot. We will discuss about on creating like basic line plot, and then label and grid lines and the plot, and then plot multiple series of data together, and then how to use these kind of functions inbuilt to matplot, like in show contour and then fill contour. So when you are dealing with contours, we can deal with like if you need to plot bin vectors, we can use matplotlib as well. But there are some other libraries advanced than matplotlib for that sort of activity, so we can use those libraries for that. But in here, we will discuss about like basic 2D plotting. So plotting with matplotlib. When we talk about plotting with matplotlib, we can matplotlib is a Python 2D plotting library which includes public formats and interactive environment across platforms. So for this one, you can like go to the matplotlib directory. You can search for lib in your browser. can type matplotlib and search for this one in your browser, then you will see the documentation of theirs. Like they should have their own documentation in the So you can see from the search, it is showing like visualization in Python. So if you need to visualize something, this is the library that you have to look for. So you can go here and they have like their own tutorials and examples. If you need to go like in depth, because we cannot discuss in here, we have like lot of functionalities. Today we will discuss only the basics. So there are some advanced functionalities. We cannot discuss all of them together in one session. So if you need to learn more, that's why you need to go here, tutorials and examples. By that you can learn more. So whenever you encounter a new library, you have to go and check whether they have their own support or not. If they have their own support or community support, then you can like use it for long term. So in here, the first step of in the notebook environment is you need to import matplotlib inline. So this is like an option in when it comes to shell, you need to do this one at the very top. So that means you are importing matplotlib inline. That means it will print the output in a new line. So that's why we are importing this one. Once you like hit this one, it will import. Let me clear the output of say all cells, and then you can execute this one. Then here you are like plotting to show in inline. Is giving an error.
And this file is different. Your file and my file.
Go up. Try to import this one. Second line. Import it. No. This one. No. Just run this one. So in your library, did you activate your library? You are in IMSA training, so you don't have matplotlib installed in your library. So you need to install your library first in your environment. So if you get an error, that means you don't have installed like matplotlib in your environment. All of you are getting this error. If you all of you are getting this error, what's the problem? That means matplotlib is not in your environment. So you have to running of the Jupyter notebook by hitting Control C, and then you have to install matplotlib. What's the command? So you have to do this one. Then it will install matplotlib. live in your current environment, and then you can use it. Is running now? It's in story. So in my case, I am getting an error because I have an issue with my VPN. That's why I am getting an error. But if you hit this command, it should install the Matplotlib library in your environment. So after you install, you can run Jupyter Lab again and then open the same prompt again, and then you can like try to run the command, so it should work. So run the slide, it should work. If it has like successfully installed, it should work. Then the next thing is we are going to import one library in matplotlib. Like in matplotlib, we can use this one for like mathematical calculations and other things as well. But if you are only focusing on plotting, the library is called pyplot. So pyplot is the library inside of matplot or the function inside of matplot. If we need to call for like any kind of displaying functions like displaying any plots or anything. So we will like load this one. We say matplotlib dot pyplot and then as plt. So whenever we need to call for pyplot in matplotlib library, we will call plt, and then we also import numpy, because to create some test data we will use numpy. So we load these two libraries, and once you run this line, if it is not giving you an error, that means these two libraries are in your current environment and no issues. But if you get an error, that means you don't have one of these libraries in your directory. So hope that no one get any error. Now we will create some sample data set, because I say whenever like we know for typical plotting, if we need to a chart, it is that we need to have. This is like not Python or anything. In Excel, if we need to plot a chart, we need to have how many columns? If we are going to plot some sample data, we need to have two columns. One for x-axis, other one for y-axis. And the other thing, these both data should be in the same size. If the shape, if we discuss about the shape, number of rows should be equal. So that's the basic. So one of these column can be y and the other column can be x. So we need to have two set of data. So that's why we are creating these two arrays. One axis will be time, other axis will be some sample temperature data. Now you know how to load this data from the txt file. Yesterday we discussed how to load this data from the txt file. Create an array and like import the data from there. So what we are creating in here, we are creating simple arrays, because when we are discussing numpy, I say if we need to create an numpy array, we need to call for np.array and then pass the variables like the item values inside two box brackets as list. So now what will happen? It will create two arrays, one called times and other one called temperature. So you can imagine this one has like number of time and this one has temperature. So if you see the shape of these two arrays, it should be equal. There's one command, or else you can like click on this debugging icon and check for all the variables. When you are checking for all the variables, you will see we have temps array size with 24. That means the shape is 24. Even for times, we have 24 values. So both of these are in equal shape. So the next thing is now we need to discuss when it comes to plot, what are the key features that we see in a plot. If you are going to make a plot, what are the things that we can see in the plot? You need to know these things. So it should have axes, y-axis and x-axis. If we are talking about axis, then for y-axis we need to have a label, and for x-axis also we need to have a label. At the very top of this graph, we need to have the title for the graph. Then when we come back to the axes, we have major tick marks. We will have like this kind of like major tick marks. Sometimes you will need to put major tick marks, and also sometimes you will need to put some minor tick marks. for both axes, we will put like major tick marks and minor tick marks. And the other thing, what we call this one, this line inside the graph. So grid lines. Sometimes you need to put grid lines. Sometimes you might not need to put any grid lines. And the other thing, we will have a legend over table of content. So sometimes table of content can be inside the graph or outside the graph. It's according to your preferences. And the other thing, we will have some line. It can be a continuous line or it can be a dash line. And the other thing, we should be able to like change the colors for these lines as well, according to our need. So those are the basics when it comes to a graph. So now you know these things, we can like go ahead. So whenever we need to create a plot, I say we need to call for matplotlib pyport library. Simple graph. So here we are calling for figure 10 inch by 6 inch. So you need to keep in your mind this one. If you type like 10 by 6, that means it's going to create 10 by 6 graph. That means x-axis should be like 10 inches, y-axis should be 6. That means width will be 10, height will be 6. So then we can ask for axes to do subplotting in the figure, and after that we can call for plot function with times and the data along the x-axis, independent values, and the temperature along the y-axis. So this is the basics when it comes to plotting. So here what we are saying, we call for like variable named figure, and we are saying from plot create a figure, because first thing we need to create a figure, like to create the space. This will be the space that we are going to create our chart. So in this space we can create multiple charts. So this is the like figure where you are going to create. Actually this is the size of your paper. So if you need like 6 by 4 inch graph, you can create it using this, and then you can put multiple plots in here, like 4 plots or 3 plots, any kind of plot you can put inside this figure. Now in the second function, we are creating one subplot. So here we are saying x figure as subplot. This one will be number of columns, number of rows, and the index. So here if I type 2, what will happen? If I type 2 to 1, what will happen? Like indexing. So here the first element is representing the number of columns, not the columns, rows. So if I say 2, that means it will divide this space into 2 rows. So if I type 2, 1, 1, that means I have 2 rows and 1 column. That means the graph will look like this. At the very end, it demarcates the index. So 2, 1, 1 means this one. If you need to access, like plot something in this one, you need to call for 2, 1, 1. So if you need to plot the second graph in here, you need to call for 2, 1, 2. So this last number is denoting the index of the plot. So now with that in your mind, how we can create like 4 plots in this graph? What should be the command? It should be 2 to 1, which will be the index number 1. This one will be 1 and this one will be 4. So that's how you can create subplots. So in this case, we are only creating 1. That's why we have 1, 1, 1. If we type 1, 1 means 1 row, 1 column, and only 1. So it will create only 1 graph in here. And then we are calling for AX. Then this is the actual plotting function. So we are asking for, okay, use this plotting space. Subplot means the current plot that we need to plot. And then we are saying, okay, plot these 2 data. So first value will be x-axis, second value will be y-axis. So if you view the docstring of this one, it will say it's going to print your graph. So if you run this one, what will happen? It will create this kind of graph, because we have some temporary data we already created, temperature and then times and the temperature. In this graph, we are calling, okay, put times in the x-axis and temperature values in the y-axis. So now it creates this graph. So now we need to make some modification. Do we have a title in here? in our graph, in this graph, do we have a title? And did we label x-axis? Did we label y-axis? So now we need to know how to label these axes. So in our case, so how to set x-axis label? Whenever you need to like set an x-axis label, here what we call for the subplot ax, we just call ax. Sometimes if you have like multiple subplots, you can go like okay ax 1 equal. Then if you have multiple subplot, it will be like figure dot add subplot, and then within bracket you will say like 2 comma 1. So this will be your subplot 1, and this one will be ax 2. The same like this. At the end you will type 2 1 2. So whenever you need to do some modification into your first plot, you have to call for ax1, and whenever you need to do a modification for the second plot, you have to call for ax2. But in our case, we only have one subplot. That's why we are calling like okay, access this ax, that means this plot or the subplot, and set the y label. This one is an inbuilt command. Set x label is an inbuilt command, so it will set the axis label for x-axis. So y label, then it will set the y-axis label. And to show the figure again in the notebook, we have to call for figure, because that's the thing that we created, the figure that we need to display. So it will display the figure again. So if we run this one, now our x-axis and y-axis are labeled. Here you can see we have in x-axis we have times, in y-axis we have temperature. Now how to set the title? So same thing, we have to call for our subplot ax, and then set title, whatever the title that you are going to give it for to your plot, and then for this one you can like put multiple values. Here it is saying when you are saying setting ax set title, first thing is you need to give your label, and then comma you can give font type and the location where this title should appear, in the left corner or middle or the rightmost corner, or even you can set a specific point by mentioning like the number of y and number of x points. So if you go through the docstring, we discuss about this one, how to say the docstring. We discuss 3 methods: shift tab, then question mark, then we have to go for the contextual help. So that's why I am like recalling this one. No matter what, you will understand the code, because here if you go inside, it is like discussing about the function in deep. Each and every single parameter, what it is doing. So here it is saying set a title for axis, or set 3 title axis or something. So in here what we are saying, we are giving axis the name, and then we are setting the font size. So here if I increase the font size, what will happen, like 24 or something, what will happen? If I hit 24 and run this one again, what will happen? You can see the font size is increasing. So if I need to decrease the font size, I can play with this value. So it is in this font dictionary, in here it is saying only the size, but in this one, if you set for font family, you can change the font type as well. If you need to convert this font into Times New Roman, any other font that you like, you can use it in here. So now you know how to set the title, and then x-axis label, and the y-axis label, and x-axis label. So now can we add some other lines in here as well? Because instead of plotting one line, we should be able to create multiple lines. If it is a multiple line, that means we should be able to add a legend for a plot. If we need to add a legend, are we going to add a legend if it is like one single individual variable? We are not typically adding like a legend to a chart if it is like one single variable. But we have like multiple like this, we need to label this line represent and this line represent some other data as well. For that thing, we create another data set. This one can be like temperature in 100 Pascal pressure level, like high altitude or low altitude. So now we are going to display 2 levels of temperature data in the same graph. So for this case, we will create a simple array with 24 elements. So if I hit this one, now it should create temp 1000 for as a variable. Now how we can load the same data also inside the same float. So how we can do it? Same like this. So in this case, I am going to create another float. So another figure. Now it will override the previous figure. So it's also creating the figure size as 10 by 6, same size, same float, and then I am saying AX float time, then temps. This is the one that we create earlier. In addition to this step, we call, okay, label is temperature surface. What it will do? So here is the function for plotting. This is the function for plotting. We discussed first it should be like x-axis, then it should be like y-axis. And now we are giving another parameter as label. What will happen now? So it is labeling this series of data as temperature surface. So now we are creating another plot like X. Same, we are calling for the same plot, like same subplot that we are calling for. So that means X. So we are going to plot another data series inside the same plot. Now we are calling for times and temps 1000. That means pressure, like the temperature at 10 millibar pressure level. We can call something like this. So now it will be the temperature at 1000 millibar pressure level. So now we should have like two lines. So now we are setting, whenever we need to set the axis, here we are setting label and title. So x-axis will be time, y-axis will be temperature, and then title will be temperature forecast, because we are discussing about temperature. And in here, if you need to show the grid lines for your specific subplot, you can call for that specific subplot, and then within bracket you can call the function dot grid. That means it is we are asking to turn on the grid. By default, grid is turned off. If we call like grid to be through, that means it will enable the grid lines for that plot. And then we are asking, okay, add the legend. So if you need to add the legend, we can call okay AX legend, and then in the brackets we are specifying look. That means the location of the legend. We are saying okay, show the location of the legend in upper left corner. So now you should have like a rough idea what kind of figure we should like get at the end. So if you execute this one, we should have like two lines, and even our legend we say upper left corner. So upper left side, the legend is appeared, and we ask to turn on the grid lines. Now you will see the grid lines for your plot, and you should have like two lines in here. We said temperature. Our first line will be like temperature, and the second line will be temperature 1000 millibar. So now you see like you can like do multiple plotting in the same graph if it is like in the same type like line chart. And then next one. Now the problem is, what if we need to like change the color or the style of these lines? We can represent one line in dash lines and the other one in with the same like a normal line. Or if we need to put it in other like sort of line kind, we can use like minus plus something like that. We can like plot. And the next thing, can we like change the colors? Because these are like default colors, no? We should be able to give our own color. So how to do this kind of thing? So in here we are not restricted. Like if you see the discussion, it is saying we can use colors like red, blue, or HTML color codes. So what does HTML color codes mean? If you have like know about the color hex codes, like all the colors are represented by 6 digits value color hex, because we are talking about RGB, no? Red, green, blue. So for Y value we will have like 2 digits, green value we will have 2 digits, and black value we will have 2 digits. So in front we will have an hash mark. So whenever you need to get the color code, you can go to a web and like you can type red color hex code, and it will give you the color hex code for that specific color. So for the red, it is FF0000. So we talk like it should be like R for the first two digits, and then for the second two digits like green, and the last two digits is like blue. So blue value is 0, green value is 0, red value is FF means the highest value. So that's the way that you can access the color HTML export. It's an additional thing. And then how we can set the colors. For this one, we have an option called color. When we are plotting like our series, same thing like we label, there's another option. We can say color. If we say color equal, then we specify the color. It will set the color for that specific uh, plot that we are focusing on. If you focus on this code, you know this is to create the plot and this is to access the subplot. In here, we are specifying the plot. In here, what we have done, we said, okay, times, temps, x and y, and then we said color. Here we directly type color equal tab in red color, and then we said label temperature. So that's for the labeling the axis, because if you didn't set label, what will happen? Why we are setting the label for this series? If we didn't set the label for that series, what will happen? Just imagine, for in case I am not setting the label for this axis, I can delete this one. If I delete this one and run, what will happen at the in the legend? I will not have this axis label. So if I run, you can see in the legend this axis. So in your code, if you made something like this where you need to make the correction, you have to go to the place where you are plotting the data, and then you have to set the label. That's why we need to have this label. And the next thing is to set the colors. We have another parameter that this floating function will accept is color, because in this case, let me go here and like check the plot function. So here it is saying plot function is for to display y versus x line or at markers. If you go to the docker string, it is showing. And what are the rest of the parameters it will accept? You can go here and like read. They have like in detail regarding this function, like description regarding this function. If you go inside, it is like showing all the steps. Even you can label. So when you are labeling, you have to say label equal your line name or any name that you are going to give. So when you are setting a specific what we call, instead of line, if you are using dash marks or anything, you have to give something like this. They are like short codes that you can use. So instead of like displaying a line, if you need to show the line as dash mark, you can use that short command. If you need to give star marks in your line, you can use another additional command. That's what I am saying. Like you should need to go to the docker string and read it, because I cannot like discuss about all the functionalities in these functions within like 2 hours. It will take another additional time. So you guys need to go through these docker strings. See here, it is a line style OLS. So when you are going to set the line style, you can use this kind of function. If you are going to set the fill style, if you are going to fill the line, you can do some sort of these steps. And then even for the markers, you can set the markers inside the line if you need to, because some graph you will see you have the line and in the graph you have some marks like this. So you can make your graph like that as well. So all of these things are mentioned in here. See, even if you need to use point marker, you can call for this character. It will use point marker. If you need to use commas or any other thing, all the things are in here. Even line style. If you need like single solid line, you can use this function. And if you need the dash line, you need to use two dashes. And if you need like dash with dot, you can use this style. And then for the formatting, if you need to have blue marker or red circles or anything inside your line, you can use this command. And then colors. For the colors, these are the things that you can use: blue, green, red, cyan, magenta, yellow, black, white. So if you are calling for the color names, these are the only color names that you can call for. If you call any other thing rather than that, then you have to call it like the color hex code, with the color hex code, not with the name. Because by default, this will only accept these colors. So that's why I'm saying you need to go to the docstring and view the docstring fully. And the other thing, you can go to their support website and read for that specific function. Even if I call like, okay, if I call for the function directly, you can go to the documentation of that function directly. Over there, then you can like read more. Even they give some other things. See the accessors and then clear the current accessors, clear the current figure, then close the figure. So more options are there because we cannot discuss all of these functions. Even when it comes to like plot styles, we are only creating a simple X versus Y plot. So in here, if you need to create an error bar plot, you know, like in some research papers, you will see some graph like this. You have this box and whisker plot. So how you can create this kind of graph? So if you are calling for this kind of graph, then you have to go with, I think box and whisker is separately over there. This one is like error bar. So in your line, if you need to display the error of a single point, it will appear something like this inside the line. This is the error margin of that specific point. So you can call for error bar. If you need to create for scatter plot, what should be the name? Like PLT, we import like matplotlib as PLT, you know. So we need to call PLT dot scatter, and then we need to give x-axis and then y-axis. So these are all the options that you can use with plot. So one will be error bar and then plot in date, and then if you need to make a step plot or log plot, semilog, they are like 1,000 of plots that you can plot and give get details regarding that specific function. In this case, we are only discussing about simple line plot. So if you go see, even they give an example. So if you click on this example, they will provide you the entire code for this kind of thing. So if you are plotting something like a radar data or something, you can use this kind of plot. If you are dealing with radar data, so you can use this plot. And then even they have the example code, you can use the example code. So here it is saying subplot 211, that means creating two plots. So I discuss about this one, no? So here we have two plots. 211 means the first plot, 212 should be the second plot. Here we will see the example, see 211, and then here they are asking 212. So this will be the second plot. That's the main point. You should be able to read the code and understand a little bit, not the 100%, but you should be able to like understand it. Where should I need to modify? That's the main thing, because codes are available in the internet. So now you can even copy this code and modify it according to your need. So we will go back to our code and then we will discuss. So here we discuss about like setting the colors only. So we will set the color. So whenever you need to set the color, where you going to plot X and Y, after that you need to set variable name color. Then inside two quotation mark, you have to set the color as red. And then in here I am setting the line style for the second graph. I discuss even if you need to set line style. If I set double dashes, what will happen? Instead of line, it will show the line in dash marks. So the second line, that means the temperature, isomeric level, that means this what we call this color, this orange color graph should appear in dash marks. So if I run this one, what will happen? The rest are same. Setting the X label, setting the Y value, setting the title and turning on the grid, and setting the location for the legend in the upper left corner. So this one you can customize. If you need to set the, see, place the legend on the axis. If you view the doc string of this legend, you will see what are the other parameters it will accept. You can go down and it will show the rest of the parameters that it is accepting. See, center. If you click center, it will appear on the right center, like go through your graph and choose the best position for your legend. And if you set some other thing, upper center, you can set it in the center of the top mid, like upper middle part, upper left, you can set in the left side of the upper. And if you need to set this one upper right, you can call for upper right, then lower right, lower left. These functions are also there. But in our case, we are setting this legend in upper left. So if I execute this one, now what should happen? The color should need to be converted. Both of the graphs, I set the color to be red. And in the second line, I set the line style. So if you call for line style equal, that means this is an inbuilt parameter that it will accept. And we are passing the value as 2 dashes. So now the style of the second line has been changed into dash marks. So now if you understand this one, we have like simple example. So you can create a point, the 9 by 10s, and then we are also creating 2 dev points. One for the surface level, other one is for the isometric level. Now you need to create 2 different subplots on the figure and then add one subplot for temperature and one for dew point. And then set the title for each subplot as appropriate. You can give any title and then set the X limit and Y limit. I will discuss because we didn't discuss this one yet. So this is to limit your axis. So you don't need to show your entire axis. If you are focusing on a specific part of your x-axis and y-axis, you can set the limit. So if you set that limit, what will happen? In the graph, it will show not to you need to focus on you have 100, but it will show the limit. If I say 70, it will not show the entire graph. It will only focus on this x-axis. Even if I set the y value to like preferred value 20 to 50, what will happen? It will display y-axis between 20 to 50. So the new graph will be 20 to 50, and in here it will be 50 to 70 if I set the limit. So that's the main function of this ax dot set x limit and y limit. So we can discuss this one, but try to do these two because we discuss about these 2 points. Till this 3 we discuss. So you can create the plot. So you have the temperature dew point data is also created. Now you need to develop your code from here. Even the plot size is 10 by 6. Now you only need to develop the rest of the part. So how to display the first dew point separately in 2 graphs. So you can try to do this one. So if we have the time, we will read the data file and like do a plotting as well. So till now we are not reading anything. We are just creating the subplot. So how we can create 2 subplots? I discussed because in this case I am asking something like this it is up to you. I am asking just create a plot or a figure. That means because I have set this one as 10 by 6. So this will be the figure area. Now I am asking to create subplot for temperature and one for dew point. Now it's up to you. You can either divide this one into 2 sections like this, or even you can divide this one up to something like this. So if you are dividing this space by something like this, what should be the command? I say ax add subplot because we did at the very top I discussed what should we need to do at the very top when we are saying you need to have 2 where should I need to modify? I should need to call like ax1 because now I need to have like 2 ax, one for temperature, other one is for dew point. So ax1 should be then figure. I need to divide this one into 2 equal space dot add subplot, and then here how I need to change. If I say 1, then 2, 1, what will happen? I say the first one is rows, second one is columns. columns, and this one is the index of your graph. So this will be the first graph. So how, in which kind, like here I have two columns. That means the graph will look like this. One plot will be this and the other plot will be this. So if I say something like this, 2, 1, 1, what will happen? Now I will have like two columns and two rows and one column. So graph will look like this. So this is the way you can set two subplots. So AX2 will be same command here, 1, 2, 2. So now you need to plot the data and set x and y title. We set title the command. Yeah. So I am asking to plot you some like a graph something like this. In this case, it is like two columns, but in your case, it can be like two rows. It's okay. If you have created this one, you can take a screenshot and put it in the WeChat group so we can see who have done this one and who haven't done this. If you have finished like creating this plot, take a screenshot of that graph and put it in the group. So we discuss or you need more time? So it is something like that. If you need to set the limit, this is the command. AX set limit and then your starting point of the y-axis and ending point of y-axis. And if you need to set the x limit, same. Ending point of starting point of x-axis and ending point of x-axis. If I set this one, you can see in the following graph, I said the y limit as 257 to 330. So here it shrink the axis. So it should be starting from 257. You cannot see, but 260 is there. That means 257